These bananas have pits in them.
Gilligan, bananas don't have pits. Your head maybe, yes, but not bananas.
Hey, all you island fans. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Gilligan's Island, the quirky sitcom that aired in the 1960s and became an iconic part of pop culture. The series about 7 castaways stranded on a desert island has left fans wondering what was true, what was fictional, and just how much bizarre history surrounds this show. Buckle up because today, we're bringing you 11 unbelievable facts that you won't believe are actually true about Gilligan's Island. From secret connections to Hollywood legends, behind-the-scenes drama, and the weirdest trivia, let's dive right in. 1. The show was almost very different. Alright, imagine this. Gilligan's Island as we know it almost didn't happen the way we remember. The show originally started as a concept called 7 Against the Sea in 1962. The show's creator, Sherwood Schwartz, wanted to portray a more dramatic survival story about 7 strangers stranded on an island. But here's the twist. It was intended to be serious. The initial pitch even leaned more toward an adventure or drama series rather than the slapstick comedy that became a hit. But Schwartz knew the survival genre could work as a comedy, and after tweaking the concept, Gilligan's Island was born as the hilarious, zany show we all know and love. 2. The castaways' roles were perfectly cast, but it almost didn't happen. Every single character on Gilligan's Island was perfectly cast, but believe it or not, some of your favorite castaways almost weren't in the roles you recognize them for today. Take the skipper, for instance. Alan Hale Jr. was the skipper, right? But Hale was originally considered for the role of Gilligan himself. It wasn't until Sherwood Schwartz saw Bob Denver's audition that he knew the show needed the more comedic and bumbling Gilligan. Thus, Alan Hale landed the role of the skipper. And then there's Ginger. Actress Tina Louise was not the first choice for the role of the glamorous movie star. In fact, a number of actresses, including Anita Ekberg, were considered for the part. But in the end, Tina Louise became Ginger Grant, though she was famously unhappy about being typecast for her glamorous role. 3. The 3-hour tour was more symbolic than you think.
For a 3-hour tour.
Just a 3-hour tour, the theme song tells us. But what if I told you this seemingly innocent detail has a deeper, more symbolic meaning? The 3-hour tour was a reference to the idea that the castaways thought they were embarking on a simple, brief trip, only to end up stranded for much, much longer. It's an expression of life's unpredictability. As we know, that fateful 3-hour trip turned into 3 years of hilarious adventures on the island. But there's one more piece to the puzzle. The phrase 3-hour tour is also a nod to the Odyssey, the ancient Greek epic. The journey home concept is central to that story, just like the castaways trying to get back to civilization. 4. The real-life lost island that inspired the show's location. While the show was filmed on a set in Hollywood, the idea for the location came from a real-life island in the Pacific. Gilligan's Island is supposed to be located near the South Pacific, and it's based on a composite of several islands, but the most direct inspiration was actually from the island of Mokulea in Hawaii. Sherwood Schwartz visited Hawaii and was so captivated by the beauty of the tropical islands that he wanted to make them a central part of the show. While it was a soundstage that ultimately brought this island to life, the picturesque paradise of Hawaii influenced the set design, creating that magical feel. 5. The skipper was really a Marine veteran. When you think of the skipper, you think of a big, burly guy who's tough but good-natured. What's even more impressive? Alan Hale Jr., who played the skipper, was actually a real-life Marine veteran. Hale served in the U.S. Navy during World War II and had a deep respect for the military. The character of the skipper, while a comedic figure, was influenced by Hale's own experiences in the military. This made his portrayal more authentic, especially his leadership over the group of castaways. The respect for authority and camaraderie that was often shown in his character wasn't just acting. It came from Hale's real-life experiences. 6. The castaways weren't as stranded as you think. Everyone remembers the Gilligan's Island theme where the castaways are stranded on this desert isle, right? Well, technically, the cast wasn't as isolated as it appeared. The set for Gilligan's Island was a well-known stage at the Salou Studios, where actors could leave the set, grab a bite, and return to the comfort of their dressing rooms. They even had access to real-life conveniences like phones, and the island set was located just minutes away from Los Angeles. So while the show made it seem like they were marooned on a tropical island, the reality was much less extreme. 7. The castaways had their own unique language. Now, this is a fun fact. The castaways on Gilligan's Island had their very own lingo, and fans loved it. From Gilligan's use of "little buddy" to Skipper's "don't make me hit you over the head with a coconut," the show was peppered with fun, made-up expressions that became part of pop culture. But here's something you might not know. The writers actually created a whole set of sayings that weren't always translated into real-world English. For example, "me, I'm just the first mate," was often Gilligan's go-to way to avoid responsibility, and some fans believe the way Gilligan spoke influenced the tone of later comedic characters in TV shows and movies. 8. The cast had no idea the show was going to be a hit. The cast of Gilligan's Island had no idea that the show would become the legendary sitcom it is today. In fact, they were just happy to have steady work. Bob Denver, who played Gilligan, later admitted in interviews that none of the cast had any idea the show would become such a massive success. They didn't even expect it to last beyond one season. But it turned out that the show had a secret weapon: its unintentional charm. The quirky, fun nature of the castaways quickly captivated audiences, and before long, it was a national favorite. 9. The show almost got canceled after just one season. Yes, it's true. Gilligan's Island nearly got canceled after its first season, despite becoming one of the most beloved sitcoms in television history. The show aired in 1964, and while it had a solid fan base, its ratings weren't stellar at first. In fact, CBS executives were seriously considering canceling it due to its underwhelming performance in the ratings. However, the show's creator, Sherwood Schwartz, managed to convince the network to give it another chance. Interestingly, the decision to keep the show on the air was also influenced by the fact that the show was doing well in reruns, which gave the network hope for its future success. Ultimately, Gilligan's Island went on to become an iconic show, lasting 3 seasons and a total of 98 episodes, making it a staple of TV history. So, if it hadn't been for the network giving it that second chance, we might never have had all those unforgettable moments from the show. 10. The show was a major influence on pop culture. You've probably heard of Gilligan's Island, the show that captured our hearts with its quirky characters and hilarious misadventures. But did you know it didn't just stay in the 60s? It's still leaving its mark on pop culture today. Think about shows like The Simpsons, The Brady Bunch, or even Lost. They all have nods to Gilligan's Island. The thing is, the premise of being stranded on an island with a diverse group of personalities is so timeless. It taps into that universal idea of human interaction under extreme circumstances. Doesn't that still make for great storytelling today? Whether it's a parody, a wink, or even a direct homage, Gilligan's Island's influence is still popping up in new ways, even decades later. What do you think it is about the show that still resonates with creators? Is it the humor, the setting, or the ensemble cast? 11. The cast had a lot of fun, but also faced tension behind the scenes. The cast of Gilligan's Island seemed like they were always having fun, but it wasn't all sunshine and coconuts. While the show had its humorous moments, there were reports of tension behind the scenes, especially between Tina Louise, Ginger, and some of the other cast members. Tina Louise was often frustrated by being typecast as the glamorous starlet and wanted to do more serious acting. However, her fellow cast members often found her hard to get along with. Despite this, the cast generally had a good time together, and there are reports of frequent pranks and camaraderie on set. Still, Gilligan's Island was definitely more than just a comedy. It had its share of drama. So, there you have it, 11 things you won't believe are true about Gilligan's Island. From casting twists to unexpected inspirations and behind-the-scenes drama, this show has a lot more than just a goofy cast of characters stranded on a desert island. What's your favorite Gilligan's Island fact? Did any of these surprise you? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and remember, It's a 3-hour tour, unless you're stuck on a desert island for 3 years.